Football's back. Made some Thursday night football last night. Carolina, Arizona. Early contender for game of the year. Haynes King with the walk-off touchdown dive. Sal Capaccio joining us on the Wester Hotline. Sal, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Josh Allen for Haynes King, 1-for-1. Let's reset the clock here, Sal. He looked pretty good. I mean, he played like Josh. He's out there pump faking and diving, and it was kind of electric. So good to have football back. Even if it's the Hall of Fame game, it's a far cry from when they canceled the game because of paint on the field.
I saw some of the game where I was watching it a little bit on the TV. Didn't have the sound on. And one thing, I don't know if I didn't watch enough to see, like, did he get in? Like, I saw, like, afterwards, I'm thinking, boy, they didn't review that, did they? Like, he actually got in. His shin or knee didn't touch, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, I thought the same thing. Like, did they? Because I only saw the highlight after.
If they had gone to
the
Gene's
highlight
territory,
cut off. I didn't know if they were.
If I made it to my first game and Gene's
Yeah.
territory comes on my screen, no, it was NBC, so that's what it would have been. Terry McCauley, maybe. Anyway, we're in the books with one game. Sal, it's the last day of training camp, and we're going to hear from Joe Brady at 8 o'clock. I saw Josh Reed tweeting out pictures of moving vans. Your memories of the last day, that's a real practice. That's not like, getaway day senioritis. Like, there's a practice to be had. Maybe at the end of it, like the last 10 minutes, there's some fun stuff, but usually it's just like you wouldn't know the difference, right?
No, you never know what you're going to get. I'll say that on the last day. We've been in situations where the last day they just let everybody go after an hour, and it's really light practice. We've been in situations where they go the whole practice, and everything just, is just like every other day you've been here. And then there is some rain in the forecast a little later, which means it'll pour the whole practice today, apparently, because that's what happens when you're out here at St. John Fisher this year. So not really sure exactly, what the practice will hold, but guys, it's been a short camp, and we know that. And we knew that was coming in, a short camp as far as the days. They don't go too long, usually less than 2 hours every day. I'll expect something like that again today since it's been like that. But it's been short, and they do have the practice tomorrow. And if you count that, it's the only time they'll go 3 days in a row. Like, they have not done that. And you guys have been coming out here long enough. Mm-hmm. You ever remember a situation where they never did 3 days in a row? Like, that's what happened this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, I guess, would be, in your experience, the same as any other practice. Like, what do you remember that they do differently in the blue and red?
It's been different before. In years past, I remember one year they did like a scoreboard, offense against defense. You guys remember that? I'm not sure.
I think I was at that one. Yeah.
Okay, they did a scoreboard. So that's why I get hung up in blue and red scrimmage.
Right, because it's not
it's not a scrimmage.
Right.
It's a practice, but sometimes they do a live scrimmaging portion of the practice, if that makes sense. A scrimmage is offense against defense, live tackling. Like, that's a scrimmage. And if you put that together, they might do that. I don't know if they'll tackle. I doubt it. You never see that kind of thing in these kinds of practices. So it'll look like a normal practice, but they generally do go a little more live period of offense against defense, and then you don't really tackle to the ground. It has happened. I think I've seen that before, though. So it's always different. In the, 9 years Sean McDermott was the head coach, there were different ways they've done it before, and year to year. Now, I'm just really interested with how Joe Brady's going to treat this thing tomorrow night.
Sal, there's a report, rumblings. You've got Eric Turner, Cover One, reporting, according to sources, and I've seen this a couple other places, a little rumble, that the Bills are about to extend O'Cyrus Torrence. And the guard market has gone really high, like a lot of other markets. I mean, it's the passage of time. A lot of these contracts are getting big. Signing Torrence would, A, fit in line with what the Bills do. Before a guy gets to free agency, they sign him to a deal. And in 2 years, we talk about how that deal looks pretty good. The question Joe and I had about this, and interested to get your thoughts on it, since this is what they do, I wonder if there's doing this a little too much and never really saying goodbye to anybody. It's been Tremaine Edmonds and Gabe Davis, and everybody else stays, and, it's good players that get paid. So your thoughts on Torrence and an extension that looks like it might be imminent, and whether or not that's a fair criticism or a fair concern about the way the Bills approach this.
Sure, I think it is, but I think that you have two sides of this, which is the Bills' philosophy is you draft, you develop, and you re-sign. the key is, do you re-sign the right players, right? I think that's really what it comes down to, Jeremy, more than anything. Well, who doesn't want their team to draft, develop, and re-sign? Don't you want every team to do that? If the guy is good, you want him to stay on your team. I can tell you that it is trending that way. I wouldn't be surprised if something is announced this morning or shortly this weekend, whatever. And it's important to remember here that Matthew Bergeron, the Falcons guard, same draft class, he was a second-round pick that year. He just signed. Now he was 4 years, $96 million. That's a second-round pick, right? Osiris Torrence was also a second-round pick. So I don't know, where this contract will fall, but you're looking at some pretty nice and big numbers there. And the question is, are you handing out contracts to people that will prevent you from doing other things along the way? Where you say, man, even though that's the philosophy, sometimes you have to be kind of just say, let that guy go. We can bring somebody else in, and we can kind of navigate it that way. I like the fact that the Bills identify guys. They're good players. They re-sign them. But you want to make sure they're the right guys. Let's talk about O'Cyrus Torrence. His rookie year, he was really good. And he played every snap. Remember that, guys? He played every single snap his rookie year, right? And it was like, oh, my God, they got a guy here who can really play. And then I think the next year in fact, he hasn't missed a game. I'm looking at it now. You know what it was? I think the following year he didn't start that game in New England is what it was at the end of the year. But he's been a really good player for them. He's been consistent for them. And one thing the Bills have had is a consistent offensive line for the most part for the last few years. There's been a couple guys in and out. This year's a left guard situation. And I just think it's really important for this team, their philosophy, that while Josh Allen's the quarterback, how much disruption do you want up there? Right? You have a guy here, and O'Cyrus Torrence has been on your team. He's been very good for you. He plays next to, let's remember this, plays next to Connor McGovern, who you just signed. He plays next to Spencer Brown, who you just signed. Keeping the whole right side of the line intact, I think, is a really important situation for them.
Yeah. How do you feel like he is in line with, like, part of the point about, limited flexibility, signing all of these guys? If they were great players, no one would have any problem with it. And even if they're good players like they are, many won't. Do you feel like he's in line with, the other guys they've signed? Like, all the list of players, maybe other than James Cook, who are, qualifies pretty good players at their position, but no one that's ever in a all-pro conversation. Like, how good do you feel like Torrence is relative to his peers? How good do you feel like you hear, from guys who really know the position as well, feel like he is?
It's a good question. I mean, I think people feel like he's a really good player, but let's take a look. Do you guys have? I would like to go and look at the All-Pro teams or the Pro Bowl teams. Like, who's he battling with? The way that is, it becomes a bit of a popularity contest or something like that. I think he's regarded as a very good player. He's only been in the league 3 years, right? This is going into his fourth year. I think sometimes offensive linemen, it takes you a little while to kind of get to that status and people really recognize you. And then every year you're perennially kind of considered that way. So maybe that's coming for Osiris Torrence. And guys, the way this works sometimes it takes literally you signing a contract and other people go, oh, he must be really good. So then you start paying attention to him more, right? I mean, that can happen too. So I just think the Bills feel it's very important to keep this offensive line intact as long as Josh Allen is their quarterback. And when you have even Deion Dawkins, he's going in he's got 2 years left in his deal, I think, but he's under contract. You have even him, and then you have Connor McGovern, and you have Spencer Brown, putting a guy on that line with them and saying, we're good for 4 out of our 5, at least for until next year, and even going forward. I think that is very important to them.
Yeah. Should this mean anything for Dawkins, that they have now 3 other guys, assuming this Torrence deal happens here, they'd have 3 other guys committed to for really the long term. And Dawkins, as you mentioned, it's 2 years left on the deal, but really it's like 1 real year of guaranteed money.
I think the Bills, from what I have been told, are very comfortable with like where he falls in line, like his player, his number, his contract. Like, the Bills are comfortable with that. I don't think there's any, hey, let's try to get out of this as soon as we can, if that makes sense, Joe. First of all, let's start there. So I think they're comfortable with that. Now, what does this year look like for Deion Dawkins? If Deion Dawkins once again doesn't have the kind of year that maybe he expects or everybody else expects, and he doesn't kind of rise up, then maybe you start to investigate that. I think if Deion Dawkins has a normal Deion Dawkins type of year, I think the Bills are comfortable going into the final year of his contract with the way that it is. And who knows? I mean, at 33, you can play a little bit later as a offensive tackle. Do you want to even keep Deion Dawkins around longer? I don't think that this contract relates to them in any way wanting to move on from Deion Dawkins.
You don't think that they would think, oh, we have, we are uncomfortable with paying 4 of our 5 linemen big money. That if they're good players, that they'd be fine with that.
I don't. And if they had any issue with it, as long as, again, this comes down to as long as they feel Deion can still play, he'd actually be maybe a candidate to restructure for a year to keep him, because he's got $18 million in base salary. But as you said, they've already paid out the money to him. So
Right.
It's not like you're giving him more money unless you do something like that. This is a big year for Deion, though. I think you're right, Joe. Like this is a year of, hey, show me that you could still play like one of the better left tackles in the league. And I think Deion understands that. He knows that. He came in a little bit lighter. He's talked about how he believes he's still, he is one of the better left tackles in the league. I think this is a big year for that. So I would never dismiss it. That's for sure. But I think the Bills are comfortable where they are with Deion Dawkins right now.
The other thing this would do a little bit, Sal, is generally, or almost maybe every time when someone signs an extension, their cap hit that year will get lowered. We've talked about, though, that the Bills maybe have a little more space going into the year already than they typically do. So I'm not sure that's really a part of this, right? Like Torrence is at $4 million as a cap hit, so maybe that gets lowered, but not enough to where I think we're talking about like, oh, they're doing this because they're trading for Vita Vea or something.
No, I agree with that. This is not a situation where you're doing this to free up money to go do something else. This is simply because they like this player. They drafted this player. He's now eligible for a contract extension. Let's extend him now so we don't have to talk about it during the season. The guy that was drafted in the same round as him just got his money. It falls in line. This is simply about, to me, making sure that you lock up O'Cyrus Torrence. Let's see where the cap hit falls, though, because you're right, Joe. It's 3.9 this year, 3.8, somewhere in there. If they do free up some money, that's great. I don't think it necessarily is a reason you do it, though.
Don't think this is that. But the other thing that's happened really this morning and last night, Sal, Von Miller is posting a lot of Bills stuff on Instagram. His last thing was him lacing up cleats in a Bills uniform, unfinished business, and then there's a trophy on it. Now, Von has done a lot of this type of stuff on Instagram in the past, so I guess for you, like, would it be surprising to you if he were to come back? He is available, and he did have 9 sacks last year in Washington. So, I don't know, like, would that be shocking to you if he was about to return to the Bills?
Nothing's ever shocking to me, Joseph, in the NFL anymore.
Fair.
I always use the Jeremy litmus test of what did you ever say, Jeremy? What was always less probable to happen? Ted Nolan coming back versus something else, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I always remember that was the funniest thing. He's right. Like, it's true. I mean, you never are surprised. And I'll say this about Von. Even, like, how surprised would I be? It's Von Miller. He has a great relationship with Brandon Beane. He actually, what were his stats last year? He was okay last year, actually, wasn't he?
He had good pressure numbers, and he had 9 sacks. Not playing. I mean, like, you would expect the same here. Like, he played 37% of the snaps in Washington, so I imagine he was just going in on like obvious passing situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I have no idea. Like, I haven't heard this going that way, but this is just him on social media and his behavior. But I would not be surprised if that were the case. It just feels like, and then you think about, well, where are you putting him and how does he fit in? What's going on here? Because one thing I've talked about here, guys, is they already have several guys at that position. Rousseau, Chubb, Michael Hoyt, TJ Parker, Javon Solomon. They signed Mike Dana, right? I mean, where do you fit him in if he's just a specialty pass rusher, especially? Like, that's the part that I look at and go, that's interesting. Now, I also think that because of the change of defense, because of having some younger players on the defense, I could absolutely see Brandon Beane and his staff and the coaching staff saying, man, we get a guy in here that has been in this league, who's a great mentor and great leader for a lot of these guys to bring in here and could just fit into any defense and understand how to do it. Like, that's a really good thing. I mean, this is a defense that has definitely gone through not only a transition in scheme, but really a transition in age and experience. Look at the guys we've been talking about. Caleb Elarm-Zor, Davison Igbinosun, up front, Deion Walker, TJ Sanders. These are players, TJ Parker, of course. Like, this is not the Sean McDermott, all the veterans coming back. Yes, obviously if Von Miller did. But the point I'm making is they might want someone who has that type of, skin in the game and experience to bring in on this defense with a lot of younger guys.
Yeah. Sal Capaccio joining us on the Western Hotline. Last day of Bills training camp today from St. John Fisher. Tyler Bass kicking. That's good news, right? Mm-hmm. Good to see that out there. Conspiracy theories are all immediately squashed. What's going on with Bass?
Yes.
So he kicked, and he kicked well, too. When we were talking yesterday, you were at practice, and you kind of had to run around to the other side of the field to get a look at it. But reports, 7 for 7, continuing to move back every time.
He wasn't. It was clarified. I know a few people thought 7 for 7. Where we were standing, we couldn't get the actual angle. I believed. So our buddy Matt Perino, for his angle, said 7 for 7. I said I think he was 5 for 7. We asked a few other people. We came to a consensus as a media, guys. We think he was 5 for 7. He pushed 2 of them right. One of them was 43. One of them was 51. That being said, I didn't care about that. They were close enough to even think that they could have went in. Number one, and number two is he just looked like he had a strong leg. That's what I care about right now. Mm-hmm. Like the accuracy part, you'll get down. You work the next few weeks, but his leg looked good. It looked strong, and that's the encouraging part. And yes, he did kick for the first time, and he said, I know you guys have only seen me kick once, but we've been kicking out here, so it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Last year, do you remember the story last year for him? Like, he kicked in the preseason, didn't he? And then re-injured?
Yeah.
Okay, so he kind of got back.
His last time he kicked in a game was in Tampa, that final preseason game.
Okay, right. So
and then he got hurt again because he tried to come back. Remember, he missed most of the preseason training camp. Came back, kicked, got hurt, and then elected for surgery.
Right. So I guess not to say that that it has to happen again, but they're going to want to see him get through games, I'm sure, before feeling super comfortable with him to start the season.
I believe so. I think that starts tomorrow. Like I think he probably kicked in that environment yesterday to kind of get him ramped up to kick tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And then from there, now you get a little bit more, you get to next week. So yes, you're going to want to see that. He is the only kicker on the roster. Let's remember that.
Did CJ Gardner-Johnson, by the way, he's back at practice yesterday. Did he look kind of every bit the same that you would have seen at the beginning of camp?
Yeah, I mean, he was doing everything. I posted some video of him running around. He did everything you would expect. He was in full go in all individual position drills, and he was full go in 11 on 11. The story with him yesterday was what he said after practice, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, so
I don't know if you guys saw everything there.
You got into it with him right about Houston and the experience there, and he went pretty far, didn't he, on his...
He did.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want everyone to be ready for him to say the same thing about the Bills in 1 year, right?
I get
for
it.
A guy that moves teams every year.
Maybe this is the one team, though, that cut him in September.
Okay.
Usually he leaves a team at the end of a year,
so
right?
I would say this. You guys have the audio. I would encourage to play it for listeners. Just not try to do Joe's job back there for him, but seriously, it's really interesting. Like, you have all the audio, and let me just set up the background of what happened here. Joe, you say got into it. It wasn't in a contentious way. It was actually a great way.
Right, yeah.
So... I poked around for some of the places he's been in. Philly, Chicago, Houston. Last year he was in Houston. And one of the things that came out was I was told that they just didn't like him in Houston. It did not end well. They got rid of him pretty quickly early in the season. He was doing his own thing, didn't fit in. I'm like, okay, kind of interesting. So yesterday we start talking to him, and I'm thinking, boy, he's going back to Houston week 1. I didn't even think about that necessarily part of it other than, hey, it feels like things didn't end the way you wanted to last year. They didn't end well in Houston. What do you think about going back week 1? He says they're a good team, nothing on the front office or staff, but the players are good. And he said all the BS that came out, it was lies. And then someone asks an unrelated question just about something else. At the end of that, he's answering it, and then you could tell that it was still on his mind. And he stops. He looks right at me, and he goes, I'm glad you brought up that Texas crap. You got me pissed now. I said, is that a good thing? And he said, that's a great thing. I'm like, okay, well, what happened? You said there were lies. Like, how did it end? And he said, you still got no confirmed real story what happened. So let's talk about that. I'm like, let's talk about it. Here we go, baby. All right, you want to do this. So, right now you're like, okay, this guy wants to talk about this. He wants to talk about what happened. So at the end of the day, you guys can play the audio. I tweeted out the entire quote on my X feed at Sal Sports. He basically said, After they lost to Jacksonville, they were 0-3. They told him he didn't gel with the team. He didn't fit in. He goes, we're 0-3. Like, I'm one guy on this team. He said he felt disrespected, the way that they handled him. I'm a grown man. 1 5-second phone call. What are we doing? Why didn't the coach speak up on it? It was really interesting, and he is obviously pretty upset at the way things ended with the Texans last year.
Yeah. That to me was the biggest difference between that stop and the others. And you could just see that on like when the timing of it happened, right? Like how often does a guy starting like that get cut 3 games into a season?
Right.
Like that's pretty rare, I think, in the league.
I agree. It's funny. I tweeted that out. A lot of Texans fans came in, and I think, rightfully so probably. They said, look, we were 0-3 with them, the fans. Then they went 12-4, 12-5 they finished, right? Mm-hmm. He's off the team. Now, is there a correlation? I don't know. I think that could be a leap. Like, how much did that matter? He did get injured in August. He was released in September, just a few weeks later when he came back with from a leg injury. So, the Texans fans jumped on it when they saw the tweets and the quotes, and they're like, yeah, he was here, and then he left, and we got a lot better. Whether or not he was there every game, or he was only there 3 games, they're 0-3, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, every single team he's been on in the NFL, it's never had a losing record. The worst is 9-8, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1 of them. And again, what kind of correlation can you make? I don't know. He's in New Orleans for a few years. He's in Philadelphia, Chicago, Houston. But if you take every team that he's been on, whether it's 1 game or 17 games, at the end of the year, that team had a winning record for every year he's been in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline from training camp. Last practice coming up today at 8:30. Joe Brady speaking at 8.
One more guy, Sal, to mention really quickly, because I saw you wrote about him, and I'm not sure his name has come up the entire offseason, at least not with us. But Jordan Hancock, you wrote about having a good camp here, or maybe just practice. I remember it was going well for him in the regular season last year, and then maybe not so much in the playoff game against Jacksonville. But how has that gone so far? Because you were writing about him yesterday.
He had a really good day yesterday. That's why I wrote about him. Really good day. He actually, on a blitz, he blew up Ian Wheeler in the backfield, the running back they signed from the UFL, XFL, whatever.
UFL.
He signed him and did a really good job. Would have been a sack, and then he had an interception in the back of the end zone later. Really nice day for Jordan Hancock. I haven't noticed him too much beyond yesterday, but there's that nickel spot that they're going to play with a little bit here, I think, and he's fighting there. He's trying to get reps there. He's got to be a main special teamer. He's going into his 2nd year here, and I think they'd like him to carve out a role. And I think yesterday was a good day for him to try and carve out that role. And he came in as a safety / nickel. It feels like they're just keeping him at nickel right now. So let's see where it goes with Jordan Hancock. But it's certainly a good day for him yesterday.
Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Sal Capaccio from training camp. On the Torrence thing, can I immediately spin it to, it doesn't take long for me to get to this spot. Like, again, conceptually, I just feel like they draft, develop, re-sign. That can be a good thing. It can also be done to a fault. Like, you shouldn't do it as much as you do. Mike Giannitti at Spot Track earlier this week posted every team's top 10 salaries and how they got those players. Draft, trade, waivers. And the Bills were, I think it was 8 out of 10 were draft.
Yep.
And some teams had 9, and some teams had 4. I think the Titans might have had 2. A lot of trades, a lot of waivers, free agents. Sorry, that's the other one. And looking at that breakdown, there was no true rhyme or reason to signing your own equals better, right? Like, however you get your good team, you get your good team. The draft is a good way to do it. It's obviously where you get players for free, and if you find good players, you should re-sign them. So, sure, re-sign Torrence. We'll see what the money is. I wonder about committing to a guard. I also wonder about taking a guard in the 2nd round because, where's your surplus on your value? Anyway, that all goes to say, Joe, that by signing Torrence, they will not have a hole at guard next year. At least not a right guard. And that means when we get to the draft.
It's one less position for them to list as a need.
Instead of
wide receiver.
Let's go. We're back. It's another step. Because they're gonna need one. They're gonna need one. Josh Palmer's gonna leave. Keon Coleman's gonna be in a contract year. Do not sign Keon Coleman. And there we go.
I mean, really,
It's a great day.
You know,
We're
really-
one step closer to that first-round receiver that's going to take them to their second and third and fourth after they win this year's Super Bowl.
yeah.
You're asking, you're still talking about that? Yeah, yeah.
Remember where we were at with Diggs when he was like 29 here on the Bills?
We thought they should draft a receiver to kind of like usher in the next era.
It was like they should start working on his replacement for down the road
Yes.
for when he's good still, but not the number one.
And now DJ Moore's on that exact timeline.
And he's the exact age Diggs was then
Yeah.
when that seemed like a pretty good idea.
And they didn't do that, and of course, like Diggs left.
And then
So
then they weren't ready.
No, that's right. Anyway, hey, Thursday Night Football last night. Pretty great, right? Now,
It was great. Yeah.
starting last night, there will be a football game on Thursday for the rest of the year. You will have
Nice.
every Thursday you can watch football on television starting now.
Okay.
Next Thursday there's an NFL preseason game. It is Bengals and Lions next Thursday.
Are we including college in their week?
Actually,
where
there's like 10 games.
I would say Thursdays in the preseason.
Next
are big.
Thursday, there are 6 games.
Yeah.
Lions, Bengals, Packers, Steelers, Colts, Patriots, Chargers, Texans, Raiders, Cardinals, and Titans, Niners. Mm-hmm. If the Niners can make it that far without losing more limbs due to the substation, if they can make it another week. All right, 803-0550, waiting on the confirmation of the O'Cyrus Torrence news. Eric Turner of Cover One reporting that. Some rumbles about that elsewhere as well. O'Cyrus Torrence could be getting a new deal with the Bills and avoid free agency. It is very much, the Bills' MO to do it this way. So if you have a thought on this, give us a ring, 803-0550. Andy Major of the Bills, when we get back to talk about the blue and red, what you need to know to get there, all the stuff about the new stadium. We're about to see it for the first time tomorrow. So we'll talk with Andy Major of the Bills coming up in a minute here on WGR.